Time for a little more different game or more of the same. Michael, we're going to take a look at a few performances from Week 13 in the NFL and see if this unit is going to produce, more of what we've seen for better or worse, or if they're going to change it up against this week's opponents. Starting with the Kansas City Chiefs, who I think we can all admit this is not the offense, the same one that won a Super Bowl a year ago. This is a very different team. This past week, they got stunned against the Green Bay Packers. 19 points scored. They turned it over. Our guy Patrick Mahomes was sacked 3 times. They were just 2 of 4 in the red zone. You think a different game or more of the same against the Bills, especially with the potentially injury-impacted quarterback in Mahomes?
Well, I think we're going to see more of the same. I mean, look, let's be clear here. When the Chiefs have scored 20 or less points, they're 0-4, and 0-4 against the spread. So this is a team that when they don't score, when they play against a defense that can keep them from scoring, they struggle. And their defense didn't play to the level that we're used to seeing them play last week. So that was the issue, right? They weren't able to play. Their defense couldn't really get off the field against a very good Packer offense. So for me, I think Buffalo will – look, this is Buffalo's Super Bowl. This is all – they're all in. I mean, there's no holding back. And I think that desperation will transcend itself. This line was 3. It went to 2.5, and now we're down to 1.5. There's a lot of Buffalo money coming in, which is telling all of us that we're going to see more of the same Chiefs, probably a different Buffalo team, maybe not different, but a different Buffalo team in the sense of their ability to move the football and be explosive.
I actually like the Bills on the money line in this game at a plus money price, which could be to my detriment if Patrick Mahomes gets it together. But what I found interesting is this total, 48.5, seems like a higher total on the surface, especially given all the weather games that we have coming up this week and the quarterback play across the league. This is the first time a Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes game has been under 50, period. Their previous low was 54, Michael. We're just accustomed to both of these offenses taking off.
Yeah, I think to me, it's so surprising that look, we're at the point in the season where we got to stop saying, can they turn it around? We know Andy Reid's a good coach, right? And we know Patrick Mahomes is a great player. So if they haven't turned it around by week 13, week 14, there's no turning it around. This is who they are. You can't deny that. This is who they are. And once you know that, now that doesn't mean they can't win games. That doesn't mean they're not going to figure out how to play effectively. But it also means they're probably not going to be explosive. I think you have to look at Kelsey a little bit here too, right? I mean, Kelsey's a yard down per catch than he was last year. He's 34 years old. We don't know how healthy he is, right? We just don't know. And so because of that, and because they don't have another receiver to take away the pressure, to take the pressure off of him, he gets all the coverage. And that's been very challenging. So I think you've got to look at that and say, wait a minute, it's just not going to – now they can still win games. They can still score 27 points. Will that be enough to beat Buffalo? You have to make that call.
How about this Eagles defense? They got walked all over by the San Francisco 49ers last week. 49ers could do whatever they wanted, it seemed, offensively. 456 total yards, 42 points. They weren't able to force a turnover. On third down, San Francisco was 8 of 11. They were perfect in the red zone. This week, a critical game in the NFC East, taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry World. They're getting 3.5 points. Different game or more of the same for this Eagles D against one of the best offenses in the league?
Well, I mean, when you go back and watch the game in Dallas last year and you watch this game here, it's more of the same. And I think that's where it's going to stay, more of the same. So it's not going to change because Dallas has a lot of confidence that they're going to be able to throw the football effectively, right? They can throw the ball well. Philly can't cover. Philly's one of the worst tackling teams in the league. Their linebacker situation is very, very difficult right now. It's where they were 2 years ago, really. Before they had this run, when they were playing and Hurts was a young player and they made the wild card, their linebacking core was not good at all. And it really struggled. And they couldn't tackle. Now, last year, it's interesting. Last year, they got 70 sacks as a team. 60 of them came from their defensive line. This year, they only have 32 sacks after 12 games. And 29 of them come from their front. They're not putting the same pressure on that they did in the past. So that's the issue, too. And we saw it early in the San Francisco game. When they were pressuring Purdy and they were controlling the line of scrimmage, San Francisco didn't have an answer. Once San Francisco got control of it, it was over.
The Cowboys 8-2 ATS as favorites this season. Again, laying 3.5 right now, total 52. The Cincinnati Bengals, game 2 without Joe Burrow. The Jake Browning experience was much better than anticipated. 491 total yards for that offense against the Jags this past week. 34 total points, 27 first downs, 8 of 13 on third down. And again, perfect in the red zone for this team. Was what we saw from Jake Browning legit? Is that real? Will we get a different game or more of the same against the Colts?
Well, it's going to be windy. The rain's not going to come as much as we thought it might. It's going to be windy. I don't think we're going to get the same game. I think one thing that happens is now that you are seeing Browning and what the offense looks like, what they have in store for the offense. Now as a defense coordinator, you have okay, this is what they want to do with Browning. It's going to be a rhythm game. We play 2. They're going to do this, and that. I think we're going to see a little bit of the adjustment to that. Now, look, he's got great skill players, right? He's got great skill. And if he can get the ball to him on time, which is what he did in the last game against Jacksonville, he can still have positive results. I was impressed with how Zach Taylor decided to run the football in that game. He did a good job because he can't really run in terms of knocking you off the ball, but what he can do is he can create some space plays. So with his passing game, he throws bubbles, flats. They're really extended runs, and I think that's what they'll keep doing. I think we're going to get less, but it'll be better than the first week.
I could tell that our producer, Elliot, was a little bit excited when I first asked the question and you said, I don't think so. I don't think so, because obviously he's a big Colts fan. Another thing that will make Elliot smile, the Bengals 2-7 ATS under Zach Taylor in non-Joe Burrow starts when not getting at least 6 points. So, yeah, that's a little bit nondescript there. But the Bengals are also 2-5 ATS against teams currently with winning records, and the Colts have covered 4 in a row. Let's hit one more here. The Chargers defense. Okay. This is an interesting one. Was their performance last week nothing or something? Because, yes, it was a shutout win, but it was also against the New England Patriots. And we've talked a lot already on this show about how much they have struggled. Only allowed 109 yards passing, got to Bailey Zappi, sacked him 5 times, forced a turnover. New England was only 4 of 14 on third down. Different game or more of the same? Was it just because it was the Patriots?
I think it was just because of the game, the situation. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that. Look, the Patriots had many opportunities. They turned the ball over. They failed. They couldn't protect against Khalil Mack in the game. They got some inopportune sacks at the wrong time when they were on the fringe in the red zone. So I don't think it was as much the Chargers as it was the inability and the lack of execution by a bad New England team.
What do you think about the Broncos this week?
I like the Broncos a lot this week. I do. I'm surprised that line went to 2.5 and then it goes right back to 3 again. It doesn't move much. I mean, it moves to 2.5 and goes back. Look, the Broncos have been fortunate. 16 turnovers during their 5-game winning streak created by their defense. Last week, they turned it over 3 times. I think Russell will play well against this offense. I think Sean Payton will move the football effectively against Staley. Staley's not going to be able to play cover 2. He's going to get him run out of there. He's going to have to play, see if he can handle the pass defense. Look, I think Denver will be able to put some pressure. Now, Josh Palmer started his 21-day return to the field as a receiver. They need someone else. I think Keenan Allen's hurt. They need someone else to help.
Yeah, this Broncos team, obviously, they played such a strong stretch, the 5-game win streak, and then came back down to earth a little bit last week. We'll see if they can regroup, getting points in this spot. And to your point, with the way that the number is ticked, when you get that full field goal, people are buying in on Denver at that spot. Also, an interesting nugget just on the total here, sitting at 44. I didn't even realize this until I saw it from ESPN Stats and Information Group. 9 of the last 10 Chargers games have gone under the total, and 6 of the last 7 Broncos games have gone under. I don't have a firm feeling on this total, but at least we're getting the information out there for everybody to make an educated decision.
Right, and you know what's interesting, too? I saw this stat. I mean, do you realize that since Justin Herbert's played at the Chargers, they have scored 1,532 points. They've allowed 1,542 points.
Ooh. Brandon Staley, defensive guru, Michael. I don't know if you...
There you go.
I don't know if you heard.
That's my case.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.